Well, Laura, moments ago, the NFL just suspended the Falcons' standout wide receiver for at least the 2022 season for betting on games. Now, you remember during the season that Ridley was away from the Falcons training complex to deal with mental health issues, and the NFL believes it has found enough evidence to determine that during a 5-day span in November, Ridley bet on football games, and the league conducted an investigation and concluded that there was enough evidence to make Calvin Ridley the latest player suspended indefinitely for betting on football games. We go back to Paul Hornig. We go back to Josh Shaw on the Arizona Cardinals practice squad back in 2019, the last player to be suspended for betting. And in a world in which betting has become more and more prevalent, something like this is no less jarring when the NFL hands down a year-long suspension to one of its marquee players in Calvin Ridley. I also should add this. The Falcons had been engaged in trade talks with multiple teams in previous weeks, and the NFL said that the Falcons were alerted to Ridley's status on February 9th, which would be prior to the Super Bowl. And at that point in time, Atlanta told any team it spoke to that it could not in good faith make a trade for Calvin Ridley, knowing that there was something going on. I had spoken to some teams. They did not know what it was with Calvin Ridley, but they knew there were serious issues that were facing the Falcons wide receiver. I think many assumed that it was related to his mental health when in fact it turned out to be bets he placed while he was away from the Falcons on leave for his mental health, Laura. He's now suspended indefinitely.
Yeah, Calvin Ridley, as we're getting this information real time, just tweeted at 4 p.m. I bet $1,500 total. He says, I don't have a gambling problem. We'll continue to monitor this situation as it develops and as we get more information. One of the things that Adam mentioned is he's here with us for the hour of the show, and we welcome you here with Marcus Spears, Mina Kimes, and Dan Orlovsky. He mentioned that Calvin Ridley was obviously hot on the trade market, right? So many teams, Dan, trying to get this guy, seeing if they could. The Atlanta Falcons, of course, said, well, we're not going to engage in trade talks because they knew this was coming down. But as you think about that and you think about his importance to this team, to the Falcons organization, where are they now?
They're in a huge issue hole-wise. I would actually make the claim that Calvin Ridley would have been the most sought after, either obviously not free agent, but trade target wide receiver in the NFL this year, considering Devontae Adams is going to get tagged. But if you look at the Falcons roster right now, their leading receiver is a guy named Olamide Zaccheaus. He has 54 career catches. That is not good for an NFL offense to have that as your leading receiver. Calvin Ridley was one of the best young receivers in the NFL for a 2 or 3 year stretch and was either going to be an integral part of them moving forward with Kyle Pitts or, again, a piece that was traded to acquire picks in this rebuild. And in the moment, my mind goes to, does this change Matt Ryan's immediate future with the Atlanta Falcons? Because with your leading receiver having 54 catches heading into an NFL season, you can't win football games that way. And to lose this piece for the Atlanta Falcons is tremendously big.
Oh.
Yeah, we were assuming already, I think, that Atlanta would have maybe the weakest wide receiver group in the NFL, operating under the assumption that they would trade Ridley. We also assumed they would get picks back in return and perhaps use that to take a wide receiver. Now there will be some cap relief. There's still not a lot of cap space, but I imagine they will look to augment that position in the draft. And Dan, to your point about Matt Ryan, I think that's where this gets really tricky because right now the Atlanta Falcons have the only established quarterback in their division. I mean, the NFC South is incredibly winnable. So on one hand, you think, okay, maybe they can try to find a way to restructure Matt's contract and trade him, which would be extremely tricky, by the way. Or maybe they still think they can compete because the NFC South is that bad. I don't know, but this just makes it all the more complicated.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.